All right, y'all. So this is the follow-up video about the Johnny Glock trigger issue. First thing I'm gonna do is actually get into it. Nothing in the gun. 100% clear. All right. So I reached out to them right around the time this happened. They got back with me pretty quick. I was directed to their, I guess, customer service manager. His name is Jake. He was excellent. Johnny Glock has excellent customer service. But pretty much their solution to the problem was, hey, we'll just send you out a new trigger shoe, and that's completely fine. That is indeed what actually broke on the firearm, but um, they didn't give no sure way to, I guess, prevent it from happening. And I guess it's not really their job. It's not like I called Johnny Glock himself to talk about the issue. Having a screw in the actual trigger to pin the trigger safety, I've found, at least in my small sample size, is not 100% as robust as just putting a pin in it. Glock puts a pin in it. I did not change out the Johnny Glock internals. I did not change the trigger bar or anything else I installed from them. I just changed out the trigger shoe. And this trigger shoe is an Overwatch precision trigger shoe. And I will say, this trigger shoe feels 100% better as far as the width on my finger. Now, this is just my personal opinion. The Johnny Glock trigger shoe was amazing. Nothing bad to say about it other than the fact that they use the set screws and they come out, at least in my sample size, it did. But this trigger shoe is insane. That's the take up. That's the break. Incredible. Now, mind you, this is just the Overwatch trigger shoe. I still have the Johnny Glock internals. So, if you're like me and you don't trust set screws in your trigger shoe, get this. This was about 30 something bones. Not much. It's polymer, and best of all, just like Glocks. Let's see if this will focus for you guys. It's pinned. It is pinned. No screws to come out. No hanky panky. Straight to it. It's perfect. So yeah, that was pretty much my experience with the whole thing. Like I said, Johnny Glock was amazing, and pretty much standing by their product. They sent me out a new trigger shoe for free. You know, I in my judgment just didn't want to put the new trigger shoe back into the firearm because of the set screw. I mean, I know I could have used like red Loctite or something like that, but I feel like a pin, like just like the OEM triggers, are just a little more robust, a little more foolproof, a little safer. Should I dare say? Um, but yeah, like I said, the trigger is excellent. Insane. Won't really find a better break than that. That's why I went with Johnny Glock in the first place. I just wish the trigger shoe held up. Everything else has held up thus far. Like I said, I have about internally about 12, 1,300 rounds on his trigger system, and it's pretty much just polished up Glock parts, pretty much. I know there's some engineering, and I just can't really 100% remember, but I know most of it is just a Glock trigger that he worked on and perfected pretty much. Uh, so yeah, so that is the update on the issue. Like I said, his trigger is 300 doll hairs still to this day. It's like 295. Um, but if you want to still have, in my opinion, the best break I've tried, but you don't want to have to deal with what I dealt with, just get an Overwatch trigger shoe. Get an Overwatch trigger shoe, problem solved. Well, the only thing I will say is this is polymer. His shoe is aluminum. If that's if you're into that kind of thing, aluminum trigger shoes, like most people, some people are, then yeah, they do make this trigger shoe in a metal mold, if I'm not mistaken. I just went with the polymer, try to stay as close to OEM as I can. Like I said, Johnny Glock's trigger is a Glock trigger. It's just polished or, souped up or whatever he did. So this is still pretty much a OEM Glock. Now it has pin trigger. It's just better. Um, I know like the new Trigger Tech trigger came out. Eager to try that one. But for now, I feel like this is the best combo. The Johnny Glock trigger system with the Overwatch shoe. Can't beat it. Again, I'm going to show y'all the take up and the break. Look at that. Wall. 90 degrees. Insane. Ridiculous. Cleanest break ever. So yeah, like and subscribe. If you want to see some range footage, I'll show you as real shooters know. The better the trigger, the better the accuracy. Now I know a lot of you will get in the comments and say, "Hey man, you can be accurate with a 12-pound trigger, or revolver trigger, or whatever. You just gotta practice." And you're right. Practice does make perfect. A seasoned Glock shooter with a stock trigger can print probably just as well as some guy with an Atlas Athena. Probably not. But hey, practice does make perfect. Um, it's just some things are better, and I do believe as far as accuracy on pistols go, the trigger is probably the biggest, if the majority of the reason for the accuracy of a pistol. I genuinely believe that in my experience shooting pistols. I've shot pretty much everything. And the trigger is always the constant for me when it comes to how I perform with a certain pistol. So yeah, um, we got a Canik Mete Prime review coming up. Like and subscribe if you want to see our thoughts on that. And we really appreciate you guys, all the new subscribers, getting in the comments as well, engaging, liking. We really appreciate it. So yeah, please continue to do so, and we got more coming your way.